For a great cup of joe, there's one thing you should know. Your morning brew can also be playful. Buff Boy Brewing guys make the temperature rise, and you surely feel naughty when you swallow our coffee. If you want some real heat, give your mouth a fine treat. You will want some more, rest assured. Buff Boy Brewing, you can't get enough of.
It's time for The Scribble, your weekly fix of celebrity chats, bizarre stories in the news, and basic random chatter with best-selling author and syndicated radio host Jeremy Bradley. Make sure your seat is in the upright and locked position and your barf bag is securely in place. Here's Jeremy Bradley.
Thank you very much, Larson. Jeremy Bradley here. This is The Scribble. I'm just thinking, have we had that intro from day one? What is it, like 5 or 6 years we've had that same goddamn introduction? Is it funny anymore? And maybe it's funny the first time you hear it. I'm just kind of like, ugh. That's my reaction to it, everybody. Thanks for tuning in today. All right, we got a lot to talk about. And if this is your first time tuning in, aren't you glad you found us? No, I've got 30 minutes of time-wasting fun for you, and I'm going to talk beauty tips. Not necessarily beauty tips, so much as beauty critiques is what it is, right? We're in a very superficial world, aren't we? And I have something, those eyelashes, the eyelashes, everybody. Why? Why the 6-foot eyelashes? So I'm going to go on a rant about that. And this is where, like I said to some people in the room here, this is where I'm going to get the sexist, the chauvinist, the misogynist, I'm going to get all these name-calling things. But whatever, it's my show, I can say what I want. And also, too, my mom is a stalker. This is a revelation that has come to light where my mom... My mom is kind of circling a property and watching somebody. I'll tell you why coming up in just a little bit. And one of the best segments that I really enjoy on this show is called Ask JB. And it's basically where one of our listeners will write in wanting, advice, right? It's an advice column of sorts. And I always like kind of just dipping in because we talk about relationships, we talk about family stuff, we talk about just different things. And I have some thoughts this week because it's a professional question. It's somebody who's asking about job advice. So there you go. So if you've worked a very, very long time in your life, as I have, and you've had, countless jobs, you've been fired God knows how many times, you'll want to tune in. Maybe you'll have a say. You'll have an opinion. You'll have some thoughts that you can share with our listener who needs some advice, everybody. All right, so... and if there's time, we'll talk about some other things, but those are the 3 areas that we're hitting this week, and it all starts right after this on The Scribble.
Who are the Kardashians feuding with now? What did that little thug Justin Bieber do this time? Who's getting hitched, and who's headed for Splitsville? Hear the latest celebrity news and gossip every day on Entertainment Wrap-Up. The good, the bad, the ugly, but mostly the ridiculously hilarious. It's all recapped in this daily segment at entertainmentwrapup.com. Have a laugh at the expense of the rich and famous when they take themselves way too seriously. It's 3 minutes of time-wasting fun at entertainmentwrapup.com. Check out Entertainment Wrap-Up at entertainmentwrapup.com. Brought to you by Speak Free Books.
Jeremy Bradley here on The Scribble. All right, I'm going to talk beauty for a second. Beauty and fashion, right? Me who wears the Walmart clearance clothing all year round. But here's the thing. Everybody can make an observation and everybody can have an opinion, right? We all can look at somebody and go and say, oh my God, that's an ugly outfit. Oh my God, why is she wearing that? Oh my God, he looks ridiculous in that, hat or those shoes or whatever it is, right? So we all make these observations. So spare me your sexist, misogynist, whatever attacks that you're going to send. Hear me out. Because like I said, this is an observation as a guy, and a gay guy nonetheless, okay? So here's the deal. So it's not even about hating women because, gals are a gay guy's best friend, right? But it's comical to me. Let's start with these 3-foot eyelash things that women wear, okay? I don't get what the point of this is. Because are you trying to be able to dust your shelves or your blinds at the same time? Is it if you lose your contact and you get on all fours, you can rake the grass at the same time? Like, what is the point of these 3-foot eyelashes? It looks fake. It doesn't look real, so what is the point? You could say the same thing about breast implants then, right, too? If they don't look real, what's the point? But eyelashes, I don't get it. And so when it looks fake and not that natural, is it really sexy, though? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, because you didn't do anything. You just bought these and glued them on, or however it works. I don't even know. So I don't understand them. And it's one thing to maybe, what was that? Oh God, see, we've got no women here right now in the room. It's all just guys. I remember when I did musical theater back in the day, you would paint the stuff on your eyelashes, whatever it was called. Mascara, is that what somebody's saying? Mascara. And, I want to know why you know that. But that's something you would do for theatrical purposes so that the people at the back could see your eye, right? Like, there was a point to it. There was a point to wearing makeup on a theater stage because it shows off your facial features. I get it. And I could even maybe accept the 3-foot eyelashes if you were on Broadway or if you were doing a musical, something where there's a crowd further back that needs to see you. Okay, makes sense to me. But when I watch shows, okay, so here we go, like, The Bachelor or Bachelorette or any of those housewives shows or whatever it is, like, I just look at that and go, it doesn't even look, because they're just, breasts can be any different size. So, I mean, unless they're obviously fake, they very well could be, because they could be big like that. Eyelashes don't grow that long, so it just doesn't even look natural. And it almost kind of pisses me off, because I look at that and go, what is the point of this? I don't, like, if it's meant to be sexy, like, you look like an oversized Disneyland animatronic, or Chuck E. Cheese even, like, it's very bizarre to me. So here's where women, if you're going to call me sexist or whatever, I don't want to hear from you. Don't even bother emailing me. I'm not going to read it. But if you agree with me, men, women, whoever, male, female, the in-betweens, I guess is what we call them nowadays, send me an email. I shouldn't even give my email address after these comments. Again, I'm being playful and fun, you guys. If you don't have a sense of humor, if you're going to take this, the wrong way, then you know what, shove it. Don't even listen to the rest of the show, okay? Do yourself a favor. Send me an email, live@jbonair.com. Tell me, and how long does it take to put these things on? I would love to know, what do you think, what is the benefit, and what is the reward, what is the payoff in the end to wearing something like this? Oh, she's got great eyelashes. What a hottie. I don't know. Okay, so tell me your thoughts. And, okay, then let's also go on this other, speaking of glam and fashion and things. When I see somebody, and I've been in entertainment for a long time, right? I was an entertainment reporter for most of my broadcast career. So that's going to be about 16 years, I guess, now. Well, entertainment reporting maybe about, anyway, a long time. And it's very funny to know that, again, it's women, here we go, have full-on leg makeup, right? You've seen, the Fox News anchors, or there was that woman on CNN. She was on in the afternoon, and I always just remember going and saying, I don't take you seriously as a newscaster, because you're sitting at this, like, glass desk as though it's like a counter at a bar, and all I see is leg. And again, a homo here. Fagalicious on this end, so it's not doing anything for me, but it's very distracting. I don't take you seriously as a newscaster when all I see is your cooch, leading up your leg. I mean, it's just, I don't know. I don't. I'll take you seriously if you're wearing, a blazer, maybe pants. Again, if you're sitting at a glass desk, there's no other reason to have a glass desk unless it's intended to show off your legs. Let's be honest. And so then I kind of wonder then the legitimacy of your news broadcasting. Like, I'm supposed to take you seriously as an anchor, as a host, as, whatever. But yet, you're giving me sex appeal. That's where I kind of draw the line. Now, I'm not saying that we go back into the old school days where you have the 60, 70-year-old gray-haired men, but what I'm saying is that they were very serious. You didn't look at them as sex. I mean, maybe some people looked at them as sexual beings, sex figures or what have you, but news wasn't sexualized then. So at the same time, you can go and say, oh my God, she's gorgeous, but it took them an hour to put makeup on her legs. She was inherent. I don't know if it was The Talk, I think it was years ago, where they did an episode where none of them wore makeup, and they just said like how quickly it took them to get ready for the show and everything like that, and they found it refreshing, and then the next day they go right back to makeup again. And then, of course, they blame society and men and, judgment in the media and things like that. But I mean, I look at that and go, well, maybe you're not as glam and beautiful as you're getting credit for because it took you 2 hours to look like that. Let's be honest. If I spent 2 hours in a chair with an entire team going over every inch of my face, hair, and legs, I could look pretty glam too. Do you know what I'm saying? Like it's no, you can cake on as much makeup and you could basically look like anything. So I just wonder then, where is the natural beauty? If I guess maybe that's the better term, right? Where just minimal is best. So here we go. Now that I'm coming full circle with my argument here is, ladies, I'm telling you, less is more when it comes to makeup. Like, just be you. Just be natural. I don't want to see you coming out dressed in, with your cooch showing and your cervix and your skeleton showing, and clown makeup all over your face and eyelashes that are basically knocking over papers on my desk when you blink. Let's keep it au naturel. And and if you're not accepted for that, that's one of the reasons why I got involved in radio and newspapers back in the day. I'm not an ugly. This is where people are going to go and say, well, you're ugly, you're an ugly asshole, whatever. No, what I'm saying is I wanted to be taken seriously for what I had to say, how I said it, how I wrote it, how I spoke it, how I articulated it. That was always the thing. It's not that I was an ugly kid and anything like that. It was just a matter of, hear me for my words. I don't want you to be, judging me based on, oh, he's got pretty eyes. Oh, his hair is horrible. Oh, no, it's just, you're reading my column for the opinion, and that's how I'm going to get the message across. You're not going to do it any other way. You're not going to, it doesn't work that way for me. So tell me your thoughts. Send me an email, live@jbonair.com, live@jbonair.com. Oh, am I continuing on? We're not done yet. All right. Or we are taking a break. No, I'm going to talk about my mom now. Hold on a second here, everybody. I'm being given mixed messages. Somebody's telling me to wrap up, go to break. Somebody's saying to continue on. I'm going to keep talking. We're going to take a break. We'll be back on the Scribble right after this.
It's never too early to start thinking about your next holiday. Have you checked out Mexico recently? From tequila tasting, swimming with horses, to ziplining through the jungle and watching whales and dolphins in their natural habitat, Puerto Vallarta has it all. Visit mexico.jbonair.com to see all the fun PV has to offer. That's at mexico.jbonair.com for hundreds of photos, interviews, and videos from around the tourist hotspot. Check out mexico.jbonair.com for all the fun. That's mexico.jbonair.com.
Jeremy Bradley here, back on the Scribble. Last year I talked about how my grandma... I'm not breaking news here. My grandma died from corona, right? She was not diagnosed. Diagnosed? Tested positive. Last fall, she died a little while after, and she was living in a home for about 2 years. That's where this all went down. But her house that she'd lived in with my grandpa for 60-some years basically remained. It was kind of like it was untouched. It almost just seemed like it was just at a standstill, like really nothing had changed. Yeah, we were keeping the grass or, shoveling snow or whatever like that. But certainly it was like the house was untouched. It just kind of stood still in time. And so when she died, obviously you take a bit of time to, you don't go and clear out as she's dying, right? I mean, you give it some time. And it took us several months because, people were busy doing other things, and you go on the weekends, you'd help clean, you'd do this, you'd do that, you'd take some mementos, you'd come back the next week, and so eventually once the house was mostly cleared out, that was when my uncle and my mom and my aunt were kind of in charge of, the estate, I guess you'd call it, and making things happen with the sale of the house. So they sell the house. Now, my parents live not that far from that house. Within walking distance, really, I'd say about 15, maybe 20 minutes away. And so after the sale of the house, my mom's retired. This is where I was kind of like, wow, Mom, this is a little bit shady. She came to walk my dogs with me not too long ago, and she started telling me about my grandma's house. And she said, oh my God, the new guy, he's ripped out, all the carpet, the living room carpet's in the backyard. And, there's all these like tarps and all these things. And I was like, well, how? Okay. It's his property. He can do what he wants with it. Then she whips out her phone and she starts showing me pictures that she took. She did a drive-by, basically. Like, she was working surveillance of this guy's house. And I was just like, you took pictures of his house. Okay. And his backyard. Not creepy at all. And I didn't challenge her. I was like, all right, fine, whatever. And she was laughing. She's like, yeah, I drove by and I thought, okay, sure. And then she came and walked again about like a week or so later. And she said, oh, I went and visited, the neighbor, my grandma's neighbor. And I thought, wait a second. I mean, I know the neighbor's name because I've heard the neighbor talked about. But I don't know my mom for ever having a conversation with this woman. Not that I've ever seen. I mean, again, my grandma lived in that house for many years. The neighbor was there. Like, okay. So all of a sudden my mom is visiting the neighbor? Sketch. And so then my mom said, yeah, he's got this like big like chain link kind of like kennel in the backyard, and there was all this dirt everywhere, and there was a car parked here. And again, I was kind of like, but it's his house. Like, he can do whatever the fuck he wants. Like, let go. I mean, I get that was your childhood home, and but again, it's not. It's just a little bit strange. You're retired. Go and do other things. Don't stalk the new homeowner. And so she's like, oh yeah, I was sitting with, so-and-so, the neighbor, and talking. And basically my mom is getting intel. Oh, he's a paramedic. Him and his girlfriend foster rescue dogs. So that's what that little, kennel thing is outside. They're ripping out the carpet. They also do home renovations. So they've got interest in that, and they're going to be redoing this and doing that. And I just thought, that's very bizarre that you're getting the rundown from the neighbor, who I don't know if has had conversations or is spying on her new neighbor. I don't know what the deal is. But my mom is like stalking this guy's property, taking pictures, going down the lane, maybe going down the side street, going in front of the house, snapping pictures from the driver's seat or parking or whatever it is of this guy's yard. And I was tempted to say, like, Mom, did you ever meet this guy when he was looking at the house? Like, does he know what you look like? Or has he seen your vehicle? Because, I mean, you're going to get a restraining order. I mean, it's a little bit odd. I don't know. And don't you feel stupid judging him that now that you know that he's a paramedic and he fixes up houses and he rescues dogs? I mean, it's a little bit, I don't know. It's kind of, should I be worried about my mother, everybody? That's where I'm going with this story. Would you be concerned? Your retired mother is now kind of hanging out watching the new guy who owns the house. Send me an email, live@jbonair.com, live@jbonair.com.
Isn't it crazy that you wait for payday, but before you know it, you're strapped for cash again? It's time to stop blowing your money and become a smart spender with the book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate, at cheapskatebook.com. Learn simple ways to cut costs at home every day and during special times of the year. Don't go broke at Christmas. Don't remortgage the house for a fancy vacation. The book is filled with tips to save you money throughout the year. Check out the best-selling book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate, at cheapskatebook.com or on Amazon and iTunes.
Ever had something to get off your chest but never had the balls to say it? That's a load of crap. Speak Free with JB.com is exactly what you've been waiting for. Your chance to tell it like it is and not care what anybody else thinks. Have your say on issues of the day. Join newspaper and radio columnist Jeremy Bradley as he tells it like it is. Hundreds of thousands of people have stopped by, including some well-known celebrities who have had a chat with JB and speak candidly about what's really going on in the world. You can join them too. Have a rant or a rave. Be brave and head on over to www.speakfreewithjb.com now.
Jeremy Bradley here, back on the Scribble, and it's time for one of my favorite segments. I don't care if you like it or not. I'm going to do it because people email me. It's called Ask JB, and this is where somebody solicits my opinion, my advice, my insight, my thoughts, my knowledge, my brain, really. And I always preface it by saying, you know what, I'm not a therapist. I'm not an expert on relationships or whatever. I just have opinions, and so if it ruins your life, don't blame me. You made that decision, okay? So the email today says, hey JB, I applied for a job and I got an interview. I had a long phone call with the HR lady and I waited to hear back. I go an email from, Okay, so it says I go an email, but it should be I got an email from her basically giving me an assignment for the next part of the job interview. Because this is a new position, she wanted to know how I would spend my first 60 days on the job and also create a presentation to pitch my train of thought to the executives. It seemed fishy to me, as if they're trying to get me to work before they even hire me. I worry they'll just take my ideas and hire someone else. Should I give in and do the assignment, or put my foot down and say I don't do work for you until you're paying me? I'd love your insight on this. Thanks. Okay, so this is really funny. Years ago, now we're going probably almost 20 years ago, I would say, when I was applying for writing jobs, before I was in the newspaper, before I had books, before I was on the radio, before any of this kind of stuff, I was applying for writing jobs. And part of the process when you're doing a writing or an editing job is, or applying for one anyway, is they might have to give you an editing test, to see if you can do it, right? Because if you've written a book, that's not to say that you're a good writer. You might have just had a really good editor. Do you know, right? Did that make sense? Or same thing with if you're a reporter. Again, you're writing for a newspaper. That doesn't necessarily mean that you had proper grammar. Your editor cleaned that up, and they made you sound good, right? So it could go either way. So I understand them giving you a test. But there was one job that I'd applied for where they wanted you to create, I think it was like 5 different topics for posts that would go on their website or in their paper or whatever it was. And so when you're green, when you're just starting out, when you've got nothing to show for yourself, you jump at that opportunity, right? You want to show them, oh, I can do this. These are my ideas. Oh, okay, I've got some really good. Well, wouldn't you know it, lo and behold, they basically took at least 2 of my ideas, because I kept following up on their website. I just wanted to keep seeing, if there's a new name that popped up, oh, okay, that's who they hired, kind of a thing. Wouldn't you know it, sure as shit, 2 of my ideas are, loosely taken. Now, again, I have some sort of off-the-wall creative ideas, so there is a slight chance that somebody could have potentially, pitched the same thing, and I just happened to do. But again, I went so off the wall and so, in a different direction that I figured that nobody would, okay? So from that point on, I put my foot down and I said, I am not doing anything like that ever again. If you want me to start pitching ideas, then we do that in a brainstorming session or a production meeting or whatever. I am not giving you, you're impressed with what I can do, how I've presented it, how I say things, how I write, how I whatever. That's what you make your decision on. You don't, it's not. Now, the one exception, like I was saying, is that if it's an editing job, so let's say you're applying for a writer or an editor job at a furniture company. You're going to be the copywriter for their furniture catalog or whatever it is. Okay, in the interview process, give me an editing test that's very generic, or give me the product description of something that's not furniture. Give me a description of like a baby stroller, and I'll edit that, right? It's something that you don't sell, that you can just now go and say, oh, now again, I realize that a lot of places are just going to give you maybe one of their existing pieces, and they've gone and put in some typos or whatever it is, sure. But I just have, there's that scrupulous behavior, like I got burned that one time, and I've just never been able to. No, that was my rule. I put my foot down. You want me to write something for a pretend blog for your thing? Yeah, when I'm on the clock. And so I would do that. What I would do is if they'd come back and say, oh, give us, write a pitch of 300 words as to why, or pitch I'll give them something completely different. It'll be 300 words. It'll kind of be on topic, but it won't be exactly what they were asking me. So in something like this, I would just go and say, you know what, I'm happy to do work for you when it's fairly compensated, but I'm not putting, creative effort and work into something that I'm not even hired for at this point. So, I mean, it's up to you. I mean, that's obviously, it could go either way. It could get you disqualified for the job, right? Because you're going to look like a shit disturber or somebody who, but at the same time, it could just be like, hey, wait a second, this guy's not going to take our crap. He's not going to let us just get free work out of him. So, I don't know. What catches my eye here is, though, when it says, because this is a new position, she wanted to know how I would spend my first 60 days. I would go and say, you're the HR person. You guys decided this position was needed. So you've obviously got it somehow carved out into what the role entails. Why are you putting it on the employee to go and say, okay, well, this is going to be my job. This is what I'm going to do. I mean, I don't know exactly what the role is here. It doesn't say if this is entry level, that's really shitty for them to expect somebody who's going to be the low end on the totem pole to do it. Maybe you're coming into an executive role here and you're going to be, a president or something of a company. Well, that might be a different story. Nevertheless, I would still say that that's kind of crossing the line. I think back to a colleague of mine who was wanting to get into social media and marketing and all these things, and there was an ice cream company that she was telling me about. This is probably about 5 years ago, and she said part of the, I had an interview with the guys, like I went and actually met the brothers that owned this ice cream place. And she said it went really well, and then all of a sudden I get this email, and they were just launching this ice cream company, ice cream brand, whatever it was. And part of the assignment, the task, was to basically create this proposed launch for the product, for the brand, for the company. And she said, I did it anyway. I spent so much time. I even went and, got like graphics and, did like drawings and whatever. And I thought, wow, and it's just the amount of time that she put into this thing. And I thought, well, that's going to make you look like a really good applicant, sure. And I guess she was blinded by the opportunity. And then I'm kind of now the naysayer, right? I'm sowing doubt now and going and saying, like, you realize that you basically just handed them an entire marketing strategy for their grand opening. So if they don't hire you, but again, you willingly did it. So it's not, you agreed to do it. And I don't think that she got the job. I never did get a follow-up, but as far as I know, she's never worked for an ice cream company. So, that's just something where I guess you always just kind of have to feel it out. If you met these two brothers and you trusted them, and you don't think they're going to screw you over and take your ideas, okay, fine. But with something like this, I mean, you had a great call with the HR lady. I don't understand when you're applying for a job why you would need to outline how you're going to spend your time working there, though, when it's the company that should be dictating something like that. Now, again, like I said, unless you're a contract employee where you're going to be out and about doing your own thing, that could be a different story. So, I mean, it would help if I knew kind of like what this industry was or what it would be. But I mean, if you're putting together a presentation to pitch executives on how you're going to spend your first 60 days on the job, that just seems lazy on the part of the HR team. Now, here's the deal. So I'm a shit disturber. What I would do is I would Google or whatever, the executives of that company and send them an email and just say, like, is this really your practice for that? This is really how you run the company? You want people to give you free work? You want them to commit 2 hours of their time, 3 hours of their time to write something, put together a slideshow and do all this stuff? Like, really? Really? But again, like I said, I guess it depends on the industry and what your role will be or how high up the ladder you'll be. But I don't know. I just, this is where I open it up to all of you. I mean, send me an email. Am I right? Am I wrong? Would you do it? Would you basically go and say, okay, I'm going to sit and put together, here's what I'm doing on week 1, week 2, week 3. I'm going to meet with this person. I'm going to have that's not on me. You hire me and then you have me do something like that. You hire me because I'm qualified for the position. You hire me because I'm talented. Obviously, you like what I do because you brought me in for an interview, or this. It was a phone call, right? I had a long phone call with the HR lady. So yeah, that's right. That just seems like it takes a turn all of a sudden. Now, then I also wonder though, was this next step of the process outlined to you during that phone call? Because if they go and say that to you up front and say, okay, well, you know what, but it just says I had a long phone call and I waited to hear back. I got an email from her basically giving me an assignment. So it almost sounds like this came out of the blue. You weren't expecting it. You didn't know that you were going to have to now all of a sudden start working for them. So that just seems sketch. It seems sketch to me. New position. You've got to outline what you're going to do for the first 60 days on the job. I don't know. That doesn't work for me. I don't know. But again, I open it up to all of you. Send me an email live@jbonair.com. Live@jbonair.com.
We hear you chirping. Get scribbling. Tweet up the Scribble at The Scribble Show. Join the discussion with Jeremy Bradley. It's all going down right now on Twitter @The Scribble Show and @thescribbleshow.com.
Jeremy Bradley here, back on The Scribble as time is winding down. Want to take a moment to remind you, as they always say, to subscribe to the podcast if you like what you hear. Yeah, this is where I'm so old school radio. I'm still stuck in that whole thing of just like, you know what, tune in because you like it, whatever, but not the reminder, sign up for notifications, click the bell, it's like just whatever. If you liked it, listen again. If you don't, then whatever, right? I mean, that's just how things go. So subscribe wherever you heard this. If you liked it, listen again and listen to. I mean, we've got 300 and some episodes of the show, so there's definitely no shortage of JB content out there for you to listen to. And we do have our celebrity interview website. We have the latest guests from our syndicated radio shows are done now, but Top of the Charts and The Open Road. But we also have celebrity guests here on the podcast. So you can check that out at speakfreecelebwatch.com. Speakfreecelebwatch.com. My name... Oh, and email me. There you go. That's another thing that they're reminding me to say. live@jbonair.com is the email address. live@jbonair.com. There you go. And if you've got an Ask JB question, that's where you send that as well. It would be fun to hear from you. I will talk to you same time... Oh, I'm wrapping this up like it's the radio show. All right. I will talk to you next week right here on The Scribble. Bye-bye for now, everybody.
Want more Scribble? Check out thescribbleshow.com for past shows, celebrity interviews, cheapskate tips, and more. That's at thescribbleshow.com and on Twitter at The Scribble Show. The Scribble is a Speak Free media presentation.
If you want some real heat,